Well, I suppose I've kept you on this smooth jazz station for long enough. Let's get this stream started, shall we? Welcome everybody to the brand new Construct Team Twitch channel. Our first, shall we say, dev stream. That's a loose term. We'll start something proper next time around. We want to introduce you to Construct 3, get a feel for what this software does before we dive into actually building things. But let me take a moment to welcome people in the chat. I've seen Lou Brush, Ems, Calhoun, Gamer Addict. I believe I saw Joel Mayer Prods up there somewhere. Metal Quokka. I think I saw Kiatric in there. Welcome everybody. Really happy to have you here. Hopefully I won't scare you off with whatever this stream turns out to be. There's a Nepio there. I feel like I should try and pronounce that, but I'm going to get it wrong. Shianyakar? That's, I don't know, someone help me out here. Let's turn Pretzel off for now. Maybe we'll find some more music to have on while we develop things in the future. You guys will have to let me know if you want tunes or if the sound of my voice is enough. Couple of dings there. Thanks for the follows, Tesla and Lou Brush. Much appreciated. I suppose I should introduce myself. My name is Laura. I am the community manager for Skira, the company behind Construct 3 and the whole Construct team. Figured it'd be quite nice to show off how Construct works in a sort of different environment. There's loads of tutorials and videos, but how about actually watching a beginner learn her way through Construct? Yay! Doesn't that sound fantastic? I feel so proud. I mean, the 8 kind of threw me, but, you know, I try. So, yeah, these streams should be about roughly 2 hours, or if we find it tails off before that, or goes a little bit longer. There's no hard and fast rule here. Tuesdays will be game dev days, and I will talk about the long-term project for that a little bit later. And Thursdays are going to be made in Construct, so we're playing games that are designed in Construct, completely produced in Construct, made in Construct, and maybe ported using something else. Basically, we want to show off as much as we can that's made in Construct, but maybe in different ways that you might not know about. We'll reveal the first game on Wednesday ahead of kicking off on Thursday. So I guess I'd better talk a little bit about Construct 3, considering this is a Construct stream. I know I've got some Construct devs in the chat, and I'm very happy to have you here. If you stick around during the actual devs, then, you know, you might actually teach me something. Wouldn't that be novel? So yeah, Construct 3 is a 2D HTML5 based game engine. It uses a unique event-based system. So you don't actually have to use any code, but we have started to introduce JavaScript, so you can write in scripts if you want to. It's quite a nice little combination if you want to, or you can go no coding, which is great for me because I don't know code. Kiatric, I feel like introducing you to Construct is like teaching your grandmother to suck eggs, I believe the phrase is. Kiatric, one of our lovely mods, is also a very, very long time user of Construct, and someone I will probably be badgering a lot for tips of how to make things that I have planned. So you probably see him crop up, you know, when he's not doing his own fancy development things. So let's take a look at actual Construct, shall we? Fun fact, it is browser-based. There is a downloadable version available, but for ease, I am going to be using it in the browser. I forgot I hadn't paused Pretzel. I should probably do that. Not that you can hear anything. So when you load Construct 3, this is the screen you'll be given. It's the start page. You can access all kinds of lovely bits and pieces from here. A combination of your own projects and projects that are provided with Construct. Plenty of AMA for Kiatric then. Yes, definitely. I feel bad saying this because, you know, he has other things to do. But yeah, ask questions of Kiatric, it'll be fun. So, yes, moving on. Start page. Even if you have the free edition of Construct, you can access all of these files, you can open them, have a look, muck around with them. So, you know, if you're working on your game and you want to take a little bit of a break but you don't want anyone to know, just open up a sample project and go, I am exploring how this game is made, and to do that I need to play the game. And look, now we have a little platformer. Apparently it doesn't want to let me expand the screen. There we go. So yes, I will introduce you to Kiwi Story first because it's at the top of the list and it's easy. Kiwi Story is a little platformer example that you get with Construct 3. It's about a tiny little bird who's in the forest and he has to fetch little gummy beetles for his family. And it's all very sweet and pixel art and adorable. But it shows off a lot of ways you can do, you know, key platform gameplay, collectibles, lives. The good old jumping on top of enemies to beat them. I'll let you enjoy the little tunes for the minute while I attempt to play this game. And of course, level transitions. I see you there, Lubrush. It is quite easy to bop along to this tune. Just avoid being hit by the squirrel. Oh no! Oh, there we go. Done by the vines. Oh, watch out for those nasty squirrels. Oh no! No worries, Mook. I appreciate the fact that... nope, I can never get past that bit. I appreciate that you're here, Mook, lurking away. I'm glad it's not just me that gets attacked by the vines, even though they don't move. Dr. Squirrels, I like it. So yeah, that's the first example. There are 4, well, I say complete, but relatively complete games available to look at in Construct. This has 3 levels of platforming goodness for you to explore. So before we look at the other examples, I will briefly explain this whole... I'm gesturing at the screen but you can't actually see it. This whole thing, the screen you can see in front of you. Thank you for the follow, Fob T. I thought I had a little ding in my ear. Tesla's kind of back, and Alexander Karlov likes the parallax. And Mook's hosting. This is great. Love having you guys here. It's more fun than talking to myself. Oh, Lubrush is hosting too. Thank you guys, much appreciated. Oh, and guys. Guys, enough. I mean, I love it, but wow. All of the hosts. Let's get back into what is Construct. So this main screen is what's known as there's another ding, there's another follow, a couple of follows. Thank you guys, you're making it very hard to keep on track, but I love it. So this screen is the layout view and is where you'll assemble your game stuff. So your sprites, your titles, and let's open up a more exciting one. We'll have the forest. Guys! So this is the forest scene we were just in, and as you can see there's lots of blocks and icons and all kinds of bits and pieces. So if we turn off that one, there we go. So you can see we have our scene laid out here, little boxes to note where the little kiwi can't go, solid sections that'll hurt you, and I can just, let's say I want to move this gummy to make it slightly easier to pick up. I can go whoop, and then if we preview this layout, in theory it should have moved. That's the button. I didn't think I'd have to go through the whole level though. Pro right here. Oh, well, just take my word for it. The sprite has moved. I should have moved something on one of these ones. It'd be easy to see. But yeah, so the layout view is where you'll design your game, move all your stuff around, and this is how your game will look. If you want to look into how the game will play, then you go into your, let's have that one, event sheet. That's got nothing in it. Probably should have looked at these before I started the stream, but you know, I spend enough time in this project, I should know. That's the player. So, much scrolling. I should probably also put this in dark mode. Dark mode, yes, that's a thing. People like dark mode. The scream, yes, I am screaming internally right now because this is mildly terrifying. I meant screen. I'm sorry, I shall enunciate more. Birdie Sock, thank you for the follow. Matt Pow2, thank you for the follow. People are actually turning up, this is quite exciting. So yes, Construct is built on events, so this is quite an easy one to look at. If the right hand key is down, then call this function. I won't go and find the function because that's quite complicated. But let's say that'll obviously move the player right, so there'll be a whole little list of events that mean the little kiwi will move to the right. And when it's not down, then don't do that. It's fairly self-explanatory. I'll throw a few events into a small project in a bit. But yeah, so Kiwi Story teaches you all about platformers, and it's adorable and it's fun to dive into and just play a little bit. Let's not save it. If RPGs are more your thing, then there's Demon Noir, and I will be pilfering several mechanics from this for when I do the project I have planned, which again I will explain more about later. Tesla feels like you should be playing Rocket League right now. Well, don't let me stop you. I'm sure you can learn about Construct and play Rocket League at the same time. So again, with Demon Noir, you have fewer layouts. I say fewer, there's dungeons, I forgot about the dungeons. You have your main layout, which is where the player will start the game, this little square. And this little square acts as doors or triggers. So if we preview this one. Ooh, dark RPG. But we have a little dash mechanic, sword mechanic. You have other collectibles, so you can collect hearts. And in theory, if I can find some gems, yay! Look rather like rupees. There's a shop, so when you first enter the game it'll do this bit, but once you've been in here before then it'll default to different text and whatnot. You can buy items to help you in the dungeons, and it'll have lots of different enemy types in said dungeons for, you know, stopping you from getting to your ultimate goal. I would tell you what that ultimate goal is, but I have never got to the end of this dungeon. Oh, and I didn't pick up the key. So yeah, a different style of game, which means different sorts of code. So this will teach you how to, it'll have different kinds of enemy AI in it, transitioning from different dungeon rooms, destructible items, so you know when you hit the grass it will actually be destroyed, and in theory you'll get some hearts or some gems and whatever. Hi Nogden, appreciate you popping in to show your support, thank you very much. And that's another ding, so thank you Renault Marshall for the follow, much appreciated. So yeah, we have lots and lots of different things. It's really interesting if you want to see how a game is broken down, but granted, if you've never looked at Construct before, diving into one of these games can be quite overwhelming. So, well, that's where the beginner's guide comes in. And now, if there are still Construct people in here, then you guys have probably looked through this so many times and can probably recite the beginner's guide back to me at this point. But it's a good starting point for anyone who's not used Construct, anyone who needs to refresh the basics, and it's really useful for me to tell you important things about Construct. It's basically having a script. Don't have time to hang out, but figured I will pop in and follow. Much thanks, Renault. Appreciate the follow, assuming I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Jessa-san, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the Construct Team Twitch channel, where we are talking Construct 3 in the first of our dev streams. And this is more of an introduction to Construct 3 before we dive into actual building of games later on. So going back to the beginner's guide, it's a step-by-step guide to help you build your first game in Construct. And would you know, the project you're going to build is somewhere in this list. Handy, right at the top, the Ghost Shooter tutorial. So this 9-part guide, I believe, explains everything about Construct basics and eventually will let you build this, which is a shooty game, and my mouse is in the wrong place for this. Oh, there's aliens attacking me. Oh, but I'm getting a score, this is great. Oh, that's a lot of aliens. So it's controlled by the arrow keys. You shoot with the mouse. The camera automatically follows the player. Monsters are spawned randomly. You get a score. Hooray. And oh no, game over. It is a classic tutorial. It has been around forever. But hey, it does the job. It teaches you what you need to know, gives you a solid base to go on and make your own stuff. So, rather than me sitting and, just going, look, this is a cool thing, should we actually follow the beginner's guide? Because, seems like a good starting point, and I am technically a beginner. Maybe more, can't think of the right direction. I know more than the beginner's tutorial, that's what I mean. The beginner's tutorial project. So, when you create a project, you can set the viewport size, which is this bit, which is what the player will see when they open up your game window. I definitely don't think I'd call myself an expert. That's Kiatrik's job. He's definitely the expert in this chat. Although I believe I did see at least one of our developers in here. Shh, don't tell anyone. An intermediate beginner, that'll do, I like that. So yes, you can give your project a fancy name when you start it. You can, let's bring that back up, decide whether it's landscape, portrait, whatever, and say the viewport size is the size of the screen player area that your users will see when they first load up your game. And it does give you a little idea of screen ratios, because it's often easier to do that than say, I'm going to have this exact viewport for this exact screen, because you can buy so many different screens these days. So, oh, hey, Roger followed us. Hurrah! Hi, Roger. Glad to have you in the stream. Roger is currently sitting in the same office as I am, so I'm glad he now follows us. So we've created the new project. So the first thing we need to do is add some objects. I should probably save the images somewhere. Let's put them in here, shall we? So we have a background. Now this is going to form, funnily enough, the background for our game. Yes, Tesla, go and look at how Construct can be used in education. It's brilliant. Teacher scripting now, you know. Anyway, so easiest way to have a repeating background image for your game is to use the tiled background object. So once you've selected your kind of object, you'll get a crosshair, click anywhere in an empty space, and you will get the lovely image animations editor. Almost called it the wrong thing, and that would get me in trouble. Well, Tesla, I probably could shout out to iRogerH, who might be able to explain it to you, and then it, definitely counts as work. I could explain, but I feel that's out of the scope of this stream. I'm sure at some point we might do some education-y themed bits and pieces. But back to our project. So we have the animations editor here. If you really want to, you can design all of your game's artwork directly within Construct 3, or you can do it somewhere else and load an image, which I'm going to do. And just like magic, we have a background. Close the animations editor, and look, it's now in our game. Hooray! And you can resize it as you like. Or if you want to, I can't actually remember how big our layout is. That's the viewport size. How big is our layout? 7. Right. 1708 by 960. Let's copy that. Make our lives easier. And paste that into the size for our tile background. And now it covers everything. Handy. Oh, Kiotric is hosting. Thank you. Shush, Alexander. We don't talk about that here. I'm kidding. Although, this is a Construct stream, so we try and talk more about Construct. Hey, sometimes the best artwork is made in Paint. I'll have you know that before I started at this company, they had I think it was a Christmas campaign? I can't remember. But a big ad campaign which had a giant billboard all done in Microsoft Paint. So, Paint has its uses. Don't diss good old Paint. Thank you, Roger. It was Christmas. So there we go. We have a background. It's not just plain and white anymore. We have this earthy, rocky thing. And our first object. So, we've gone through all of this bit. There are lots of zoom controls it will tell you about. So, hold down control and roll the mouse wheel to go in and out. Or, nope, I've forgotten where that was. Ignore me. When did I start working Construct, or when did Roger start working Construct? I have been working here for, I think it's 3 years this month, next month, maybe? Roughly 3 years, and I still don't know how to use this properly, so, about time, really. I just write tweets, that's what I do. So, that is the first page of the beginner's guide. Done. Tinimations, thank you for the follow. If any of you were here, I think a couple of you were, for my tester stream last week, then you should remember me playing Clang. Tinimations is the dude behind that, and a very talented man at that. I'm happy I could actually put some time into Clang, but more of that later down the line when we actually play it on a a game stream at some point. So, we need to put some more objects into our game for it to actually play like a game. Because currently, if we press this button here, which previews our project, it's a picture. Which, is great if you want a picture. But we don't. We want a game. We need to be able to do things. So, first thing to do is not do that. So if you click on your background at any point, even when you're trying to add something else, it will open up the animations editor. Easiest way to get around that is to either lock the layer, if you're planning on having more layers, or if you want to keep everything on one layer, we've selected the tiled background and we can lock it. And now we can't move it. So no more accidentally selecting things and moving or deleting or whatever. So, need to add some new objects. These will be called global objects. So they are available throughout the project. You can't do any code with them. They are just there and will give you their functionality. So if we add the keyboard, so I click on that, doesn't do anything. I can't do anything in its properties, it is just there. But it means if I then put in a sprite or something, I can put in some events that say when I'm using the enter key, when I'm using the right keys, when I'm using the arrow keys. If you don't have the keyboard object in, you can't access any of that. It's fairly straightforward. And we need to do the same thing if we want to use our mouse for shooting with. Notice there's also touch and gamepad inputs, so if you want to use, I don't know, an Xbox controller with your game, or if you want to design it for mobile, just add in the equivalent input. So there we go, now we have keyboard and mouse. Also, you'll notice that as I've been adding things, there are bits of my project that are now in italics. And that means that there are unsaved changes in my project. So if I now go to, let's just save to the local browser. You can do cloud, so if you want to save it to Google Drive and OneDrive, I don't know what I pressed there, Google Drive, OneDrive or Dropbox, then you can, but we're just going to save it to the browser. You will probably be prompted to enable persistent storage. That's because occasionally, if you don't have this enabled, browsers can delete things when they feel like it. So enable persistent storage, and then your files should stay nice and safe. We'll just, there you go, save that there. And a little pop-up will come up in this bottom corner that says it's been saved. Hurrah! And everything is no longer in italics. So it's a quick and easy way to see whether you've actually changed anything since you last saved. Because, you know, you can never save too much. So let's go and get some more objects for our game. We need a player. We have a monster. A bullet for our player to shoot. And an explosion, because who doesn't love explosions? Now, there are several ways you can incorporate these images as sprites in your game. You can do the way we added the keyboard, mouse and tile background. So double click in a space, select sprite from the object dialog, press insert, click anywhere in a space and you'll get the animations editor. We can go open, let's have our player, and there he is. Lovely. Or we can do that. And if we've downloaded it from Chrome and it's still sitting here in the tray, then you can click and drag it in. Or, I keep forgetting my taskbar's up here. If we go into the folder where you saved everything, oh, nope, you can click and drag into Construct, and there it is. If you drag the files directly in, the objects should take the file names. But if you add it manually, then it's probably worth renaming your sprites, otherwise everything we name is sprite, and that's incredibly confusing. Because, you know, when you need to find your monster number 32 and it's named sprite number 365, things get a bit complicated. Leo Chand, hello there, welcome to the stream. Happy to have you here. Metal Quokka's going to lurk, that's fine. I see Nepio has made an appearance as well. Explosions are pretty cool. Reminds me that's the last one we need to bring in. Let's pop our explosion in. So, our player could do with actually being on the map, otherwise you can't really do much. So, the tutorial does recap all the methods to add sprites. It'll also tell you why you should name things, because naming. Now, one of the really handy things about Construct is its behavior system. So I can, let's say I was making a Mario game. Who doesn't love Mario? Mario is a platformer. Obviously you're going to need code to make him jump, move left and right, all that kind of thing. In Construct, I can add a behavior to the Mario sprite. That means it will automatically have a lot of the key platform control. So I won't have to put anything in my event sheet, and it will automatically move left and right with the mouse keys. It'll have a jump involved. You can enable double jump, I think, with a click of a button. It just makes developing really helpful. Easy. You can tell this is all off the cuff. So, what behaviours are we going to be using in this game? Well, there's some text for that. We have 8 directional movement, which means that the player can move around with the arrow keys, funnily enough, in 8 directions. Bullet does exactly what it says on the tin. It moves an object forwards at its current angle. You can set speed, change the angles, and do bits and pieces. Obviously, we'll use it for the bullet, but actually it'll also be useful for our monsters, because the AI is going to be really complicated and they'll just move forwards. Scroll to keeps the viewport centered on whatever object has that behavior, so it's a great way of, easily putting in a camera. Bound to layout, that means whichever has that behavior can't leave the layout, so our player can't run off the edge of the world. Destroy outside layout, if something does leave the layout, then it's destroyed. Simple as that. And fade, again, kind of does what it says on the tin, makes an object fade in and out. I will endeavour to remember which ones go on to which things. That is not right. Behaviours. So on the left here we have the projects bar. No, properties bar. I can read. And here you can edit your behaviours. So click behaviours, it'll open up this dialogue, add a new behaviour, and you can see all of the lovely behaviours that Construct has built in. Now we want 8 directional movement so that we can move our player. We'll want scroll to so that our player is always the focus of the screen. And we want bound to layout because we don't want our player running away off the edge. Then let's go for our bullet. I need to stop double clicking things. Behaviours, add new behaviour. Funnily enough, the bullet will get the bullet behaviour. But we also don't want loads of bullets cluttering up our layout. So, when the player fires one, then we don't want it just flying to the edge of the layout and stopping there. We need to get rid of them. So, as soon as the bullet leaves the layout, we want it destroyed. So we add that behaviour. Now I need to look because my memory is rubbish. So yeah, we need the bullet movement for our monster. I'm very click happy today. You can add behaviours from this menu when you right click on an object. We want bullet, add, I think that's all we want. Yep, and fade for the explosion object. Add new behavior, fade. There we go. So that should, providing I'm reading this correctly. There we go. So at this point, there's nothing in our event sheet. We have put no code or whatever into the game. So we'll just pop our monster there so we can show what's happening. And if we press preview, there we go. There's the bullet behavior in action. Away goes our monster. But we can also move the player. Can't go any further than the edge of the layout. And the screen moves with the player. So yeah, behaviors are a great way to get some key mechanics into your game very, very quickly. Yes, one monster in the game, would make it easy, but would it be fun? No! So we need more monsters. So if you click an object to select it, hold down Control, and then drag, makes a duplicate. We can do 2, or all 4, and haha, now suddenly we have loads of monsters, but it's going to be rubbishy because you can see them all at once, so let's pop them around our layout. There we go, we have some monsters, isn't that lovely? So now that we've got monsters, it's time to add the first events to give us some logic. So it's probably easier for you to read this tutorial. It is available on construct.net because it puts this a lot more eloquently than I will, and no one wants to sit here watching me read this out loud. I mean, I will if you want, but that doesn't seem particularly entertaining, shall we say. But yes, we have events which are made of conditions, actions, and have sub events, and there's lots of different ways you can break it down that all do different things. So let's put in our first event. So the player needs to always look at the mouse cursor. So as we move the mouse around, our player faces in different directions. So in our event sheet, you know what? Can we come on Windows, do your thing. There we go. Now I can read, just so I can see what this is. You can drag your bars to make them as thin or as thick as you want. If I really wanted to, I could move the project bar out completely, but there you go, I now have a little standalone project bar, which is lovely. We want to put that back there for now. So currently there is nothing in our event sheet, so it looks a little bare. Let's add an event. You can either click the button, add an event, right click, add event. There is a keyboard shortcut, but I've kind of forgotten what it is. So we want to have a system event, and every tick, we have a little search box in the top here, so you can, if you know what it is you're looking for, you can type it in rather than having to scroll through everything. Every tick, then our action, which concerns the player. We want to make him face the mouse, so we need to set an angle, and that angle is going to be the position of the mouse. So mouse.x and mouse.y. So that's the x and y coordinates for the mouse. Now, what do you want? I'm copying this exactly from the tutorial. Now, well, this is great, and this is why we you know what? Right, I'm reading this properly and I'm not going mad, right? And this is why we get me to do this, because I am the beginner, and you know, it's all well and good for one of our more experienced users to come here and go, this is how everything works, this is great, this is lovely, this is perfect, and everything works. But if you're a beginner and you come in and you think, oh, this is fantastic, but you follow something and you think you've got it all right, and then suddenly, I realise what I did wrong now, suddenly something doesn't work, then it helps to see someone working through it, or at least it does in my head. So, set angle towards position, mouse X and mouse Y. There we go. I can use this program. Promise. And we have an event. So if we go to preview now, look, it works. There is something satisfying about putting your little bits of code in and it working. There's also unbelievable amounts of frustration when you do it and it doesn't work. But there you go. Doing it from memory there. So yes, if you've not added the mouse object, then you will probably get some errors up saying that it's not an object name. So at least you know, in theory, where the problem lies if it doesn't work. So we've run the game, we know what it looks like. So let's get our player to shoot some things. So we need to add an event, this time using the mouse. and it's going to be on click, and we want the left button. So every time the left button is clicked, what do we want to happen? So we need to add an action for the player, and we need to spawn another object so that every time you click there's a bullet. Select the bullet, and we don't need to worry about those for the minute. That is very tricky, trick. There is a huge amount of good feeling when something is broken and you couldn't figure out why, and then all of a sudden you fix it and it feels great. So yay, there's a lot of, emotions in game dev. I thought there was a ding. That's thank you. This is Internet for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. We are currently looking through the Beginner's Guide to Construct 3 because I need a refresher course, and it's a good way to introduce people who have never seen this game engine before. So now that we have that, in theory, when we run our project, when we click the button, bullets are spawned, but they are coming out of our guy's head. And last time I checked, the guy's gun was in his hands, not in his head. So we should probably fix that. And that's done with image points. Currently the image point is set to 0, which is set as the origin of the sprite. So if we right click, we can edit our sprite. And we want this little button here that's kind of like a crosshair with a circle in the middle of it. Click that and we can edit our image points, or we can add new ones. So add a new image point, and we want it at the end of the gun, so there-ish, that'll do. I could name it if I wanted to, but I don't know if I really want to. But there we go, we now have an image point at the end of the gun, so we can edit this. And we want the image point to be, I think I called it 1. Image point number 1. And in theory, there we go. Bullets now come from the end of the gun and we have some level of normality. Huzzah! Look at all these guns. Woohoo! Okay, so that's a little look at image points there. Currently our bullets don't do anything, so we should probably make them at least hurt the monsters, because otherwise we'll just be overrun with monsters and that'd be terrible. So we need to make sure our bullets do something. So when our bullets collide with another object, and we want them to collide with the monster, then what do we want to happen? We need to destroy the monster. Then we also want the bullet to spawn another object, which will be our explosion. So our monsters explode with a poof. Well, I know it's the wrong sound, but I'm not a sound effect person. And then lastly, we want to destroy our bullet. There we go. So now, in theory, let's move down and find one. Oh, of course. They have the bullet behavior on, so as soon as we start, then they all fly off the edge. So we can't test that right now. But given that we've not done anything with the explosion, and if you look at it, it's got a big black background around it, then it's going to come out a little bit like that, which doesn't look very effective. So we can change that. Let's have a look at the explosion object. So now we have its properties in the properties bar. want to go to effects and change its blend mode to additive. And now we should have a nice explosion, but until I fix the monsters we can't test that. So, if it doesn't work, then obviously something broke at this point. Oh look, the tutorial's even telling me that the monsters will just run off the edge. We should probably do something about that, really. So, we need to add some more events. So system, on start of layout. So as soon as this layout loads, these events will trigger. I know, right, Cowhome? Wouldn't all these games be easier if the monsters just ran away from you? I suppose they'd probably be less fun, but, there'd be less death. It'd be great. So, on start of layout, we want our monsters to do something. Monster, we want it to go in a random direction. So we need to set angle, and then we want a random number. That is the wrong bracket. Oh, come on. Thank you. There we go. So this will pull out a random angle anywhere from 0 to 360. So at the moment they do at least, face different directions, but they'll still just disappear off the edge of the layout. So we take our monster, and whenever it is outside of the layout, then we need it to move so that it's no longer outside of the layout. So our monster, we need to set angle towards a position, and we're going to send it towards the player. And player.y, come on. Player.y. There we go. So, there we go. Monsters now all come at me. And our explosions work too, isn't that lovely? There you go. So, we have monsters that now actually hunt us down again, and explosions that work. Calhoun believes there should be a cuddle a monster game. We have to run after them and catch them. I'm sure we could do that. I don't know how the monsters would feel about having some random person running after them trying to give them a cuddle. I'm sure some would be fine with that. Now, whilst it is lovely that we can, shoot a monster and it's destroyed, might be a little more challenging if it takes more than one hit to destroy a monster. And there was a ding in my ear, so thank you Armaldio for the follow. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. And apparently my remote control has failed on my phone. Lovely. Thank you, Slobs. Just what we need. So in this game we will be using what are called instance variables to store health for the monsters. So an instance variable means we can have different variables assigned to each instance, or, this is an instance, this is a different instance, they would have different variables. Again, the tutorials say this, a lot more eloquently than I do. So please read. So, what we need to do is click on the monster. We have its properties now in the properties bar. Instance variables, and we need to add a new instance variable. Funnily enough, we'll call it health, and we'll give it an initial value of 5. There's a number, so we leave the type as number, but you can have booleans or strings depending on what you need. So there we go, now we have our variable. But our events haven't changed, so currently that's not really going to do much. So what we need to do is when our bullet collides with a monster, rather than destroying it, we can replace the action and go monster, subtract from, and we only have one instance variable, so that's there. And we can choose a value to take off it. We'll stick with 1 for now, so it'll take 5 shots to kill a monster, assuming I can count. So now, if we shoot these monsters, notice they don't die immediately, but in theory at some point, I have lost track of how many of these I've shot. They don't die immediately, that's the important thing. Oh, of course we need to add an event to change the thing so that when the instance variable actually hits 0, then we destroy them. Getting ahead of myself. So, need a new event with the monster. Oh, there's a P in compare. Compare instance variable health equal to or less than 0. Because if we had it at just 0 or just less than, then let's say you had, I don't know, a different number on subtraction, you'd end up with -1 health. That wouldn't be equal to 0, so it wouldn't destroy it. So less than or equal to means as soon as it's any number below 0, it will destroy our monster. We just spawn the other object. Oop. What am I doing? Monster. Spawn another object. Explosion. Done. And an action. Destroy the monster. There we go. So, I feel we should slow our monsters down a little bit. Because, you know. 400 seems a little fast. What does 100... Oh, I forget my number pad isn't on. What does 150 look like? That's better. I can actually shoot them now. There we go. And so they take a number of bullets, and then they explode. Huzzah! So we've had instance variables. We're now going to look at global variables. And this is so we can have a score. So, you know, when our player destroys a monster, he earns some points. And points mean prizes! So, we need to add a global variable. So if you right click in your event sheet in a space, you'll pull up this little menu and we can add a global variable. We are imaginatively going to name this score. Points mean prizes, cow home! Yay! Unfortunately I have no prizes, so sorry. Nepio gets it. Okay, so there we go, we have score. It has an additional value of 0 because, you know, you don't want to give them points straight off the bat. That's a bit too easy. And now our global variable appears at the top of our event sheet. So it can be accessed from any event sheet in any layout, which is very handy. Hence, global. So, what we need to do... Oh, not that bit. When the monster's health drops below 0 and it's destroyed, then we want to give the player a point. So we have a global and local variables section, add 2, score, and a value of 1. I mean, we could be generous and give them 10, 15, 100, you know, it's up to you. But we'll stick with 1 for now. So now we can kill things. We know we're getting points, but nobody else knows we're getting points. Better show off that score, otherwise what's the point? So we are going to add a new layer. Layouts are different to layers, though the two can be very confusing, not only because they sound similar. Again, the documentation explains the difference much better than I do, and also it doesn't stumble over its own words. So, construct.net, you can have the full Construct 3 manual and you'll find this tutorial. Please do check it out if you have not used Construct before. Anyway, we need to add a layer. Down the bottom here, I have my layers bar. And this is where I can see all of the layers I currently have on this specific layout. I have one, so it's fairly simple, but we need a new one. So let's add a new layer at the top because we want the score to be displayed over everything else. And we're going to call it HUD. So whenever you want to do something on a specific layer, you need to make sure that the layer itself is selected. Otherwise you'll end up putting things in the wrong places and it can be a right pain to get it back, and just simple things. Make sure it's selected and you'll be golden. Now, the good thing with a HUD is it stays in the same place on the screen. You can move around, it doesn't move. And we can do that with parallax settings. So we want to set it to 0 by 0. So now on this layer, it won't move, so we can stick anything we put on here will just stay in the same place on the screen. And the easiest way to display a score is with a text box. So double click in a space to bring up the new object type dialog, find text, press insert, and look, now we have a text box. But if we stick that on there, then no one's going to be able to read anything. So in the properties bar, we can change how the text looks. First of all, we're probably going to want it to say score of some kind. We can set it initially to nothing, and we can set the text in the events. You can choose to use BB code or not if you want to. We don't really need to right now because we're just going to change the size up a bit so you can actually see the player's score on top of the screen. 32 because it's a nice round number, and probably let's go, I don't know, a nice bright yellow kind of colour. That'll do, yellow. Now if we put that there, you can actually see it. There we go. We have a text box. Let's make it a bit longer just in case. If our player racks up a giant score, you don't want that hidden. So, in our event sheet, we can add some bits to our every tick event. So, every system tick, this will update, so the score will be constantly updated, which is lovely. So, we need to add an action for our text box. We need to, where's my set text? There we go, set the text. And the text needs to read, and I am going to have to read this, score, colon, space, and score. So this first bit is the actual text that people will see, and this bit is the value of the global number called score. So this will be letters, this will be numbers, and the and just joins them together. Again, documentation is better at this than me. Done. So there we go, we have a score. Look at that. And if I shoot some things, the score goes up. Hurrah! Now we have been doing this stream for about an hour, so it is probably a good time to do a bit of a BRB, get some water, stretch your legs. I can get some air. It's quite toasty in this booth. And we can come back, talk a bit more about what we can add to this to make it better. You don't have to suffer through me doing any more actual development in Construct, but we will also talk about what we have in store for future dev streams. I promise you we will not be just sitting here going through tutorials, because I'm fairly sure you all would get very bored very quickly. And unfortunately, as my remote control has disconnected, then you'll get to spy on my Streamlabs for a minute while we change the scene, and I'll figure out why that's not working. So, BRB guys, probably be about 5 minutes. Oh, I realise I've been a terrible host and left you all here with no music. That was a bit mean. So I will have a rummage through Pretzel properly between now and Thursday and put together some actual playlists to put on during these BRB and the intro sections, so that you're not all sat here in a weird silence until I rock up. So, shall we get back into it? Now, what I've done is I've gone back into the actual tutorial file because it's got more stuff in it than mine does, and I can just show you a few extra bits that are relatively easy to add in, and then we are going to talk about what the plans are for future streaming. Exciting times. So the nice thing is with a lot of our example files and tutorial files is they are all nicely annotated. So if someone's developed, let's say, let's just grab a random one. Let's have templates. I know this one's quite good. Have the monk fight. So this is a beat 'em up template, but if you go into the event sheet, it has got loads and loads of information all about what different bits do, what all the different numbers do, and what various bits of the event sheet do. So it's really, really quite easy to pick up on what's going on, but we don't need that. Don't save. Anyway, back to our Ghost Shooter briefly. So yes, it's got lots of nice comments that explains everything from the tutorial, but there's a couple of extra little bits. So if a monster is within 200 pixels of the player, then they start coming towards them. It's a little bit of extra AI so that the monsters just don't randomly, if they start, off an angle, they will eventually, either through being off the layout or being near the player, will turn towards the player and hunt them down. In our version, there were just that set number of monsters, no more would emerge. But with a very simple event, you can have your game spawning new monsters. So this one, every 3 seconds we get a new one. And of course in our one, the player was invincible. You could be run over by loads of monsters and nothing would happen. So obviously you want to kill the player if the monster comes too close or touches them or whatever. You could give the player its own instance variable to track its health, so you could take multiple hits from a monster or whatever. There's a lot of ways you can customize it quite quickly. And then if you get hit by the monster, you get the game over screen. Well, their monsters are a lot slower. Let's just go. Whoop! Oh no! Spacebar, the layer restarts, and everything starts again. So if you are looking for a relatively easy way to get started in Construct, I can thoroughly recommend the Ghost Shooter tutorial. Take a look through this project maybe before you get into the tutorial, so you can see what all of the code itself does, and then you hopefully have a better idea of what you're doing as you put it into the system. You're not just copying and pasting, for lack of a better term. But that's not what you're here for. You're here to find out more about what we're going to be doing in these streams, to figure out whether or not you're going to come back. But I sincerely hope you do. So as I said at the beginning of the stream, on Tuesdays we are going to be focusing on developing in Construct. Now, it wouldn't be fun if I was just sitting here reading tutorials at you and going through all that, because you can do that in your own time, and it's probably much more beneficial for you to look through our documentation to learn yourself rather than listening to me rabbit on all afternoon. So we are going to embark on our own project. And by we, I mean me. A fun tweak is changing the on mouse click condition to on mouse down. I can't say I've tried that, but yeah. I assume you mean when shooting Nepio. Oh dear. Slobs is being rubbish on my phone. Yeah, I heard a ding there. And that was Oh Baby. Thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the stream. If you are lurking, that's cool. If you want to say hi in the chat, then we don't bite. We've had a brief run through of the beginner's guide, so you've not missed masses. I know you are a construct user. I recognise that name from the forums. We are about to talk about what we're going to do instead of going through tutorials, which I hope will be more interesting. Basically, as both to help me learn, to hopefully get you guys to learn more and develop more learning resources like the tutorials for our website, I am going to build an actual game. And because I am a Pokemon nut and it's something I've kind of always wanted to do, well, I'm going to make a Pokemon style RPG. So I have started putting together a list of all the mechanics that means I'm going to need to build. So hopefully the plan is I will develop these things offline so you don't have to sit and watch me fumble, and then I will recreate those mechanics in little project files on Construct while we slowly build up a big game file over time that will hopefully be a really cool little RPG where you can catch, can't call them Pokemon, but you can catch creatures. Maybe we can get a bit of, I don't know, bit of crafting in there, bit of farming. We'll have the inventory system, battle system, all those fun things. And it should get us to use loads of different features within Construct and hopefully teach us all a thing or two. There will be opportunities for you guys to get involved, because this is a lot of graphical work for one person in my head. So if you have any ideas for creatures that you want to be in this game, I am starting to put together a type chart so that people can, assign types. They won't be called types, but you get the idea. So if you want to create a monster, then by all means, I will be happy to include your monster, providing it's, sensible and family friendly. I feel like I have to say that. Same goes for NPCs. If you would like a character in the game, then fabulous. I will be happy to include them. I will probably set up a forum thread a little further down the line so we can kind of keep track of things. And obviously when we're at a point that I can start accepting designs, then I will post more information. There is loads of RPG content on YouTube and tutorials, but I thought it would be nice to kind of condense it all and make a kind of series of our own. And yeah, I've always had a hankering of making my own sort of Pokemon style game. The groundwork has started. I've started to learn a few bits and pieces, which is lovely. I made some tiles, made a little person, and have a very, 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 very basic interaction system. So look, we have a person, he can wander around. This square is another NPC, but I could only be bothered to draw one person. But if we press the Z button, then look, we spoke to them. But what I have done is use line of sight, so this little, my tile map thing's there. If we make the viewport a little bit bigger, so we can actually see more of the layout. 800 by something, I don't know. This is arbitrary at this point. 800 by 500, let's say. Oh, come on, you. 800 by 500. And we do that. Then, in theory, when the little square can see our character, the little text box will appear. So we can see when line of sight is picking up our character, and then the logic says only do the interacty thing if the player is in line of sight, and I think it's overlapping. It's very basic, it's very crude, but it does what I need to for now. So, you know, I can build on. This is the sort of thing that we'll do. We'll make little mechanics. I will happily take advice from you guys. We'll build things out together and hopefully build a game. I'm quite excited by this. I hope you guys are as well. Obviously, we are going to need to name things so that we don't get in trouble with Nintendo. So when the forum thread goes live, I will probably also take suggestions for names of things, because it's community projects are more fun than just me doing things. So yeah, I'm very excited by all of this. There's lots we can do in Construct. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I've not seen a sort of creature catching based game built in Construct. I've seen plenty of RPGs, but nothing with this kind of capture system. Turn-based battles, so what I've seen, there's a really great little Kickstarter that's just come up for a game called Small Saga. That's all built in Construct. It's a lovely little turn-based RPG all about rodents, I believe. You star as a mouse living below the streets of London. Beautifully done, looks great. There's a demo on it, you should definitely go and look that up. It's called Small Saga. But yeah, other than the dev streams, on a Thursday we will be doing gameplay streams. So if we have a game that's made in Construct, designed in Construct but done in something else, anything Construct based, then we want to play it, because I think one of the best ways to showcase what Construct can do is by showing what other people have done with it. I'm obviously not a game developer by trade, so whilst it's one thing to watch me fumbling around to try and build a game, it's a completely different thing to see some amazing things that developers have already put together. I am putting together a list of games to play. I have a few in mind to get started with, but again, probably in the forums, or you could send us messages via social media as well. That's fine. All of our social links are down in the panel below the player and should be appearing in the top right corner of your screen every so often. So if you want to send us suggestions of games we should be looking at, games that maybe we can play, then please do send us information, because a lot of people post really great stuff on social, but we have no idea if it's made in Construct or not. And as much as I enjoy deep diving through Twitter, it's much easier when the developer tells us. So yeah, please do share your games with us. It's great, and we love to see what you're up to. I love to muck around in your games. It's great fun. Salion has sent us... I'll have to have a look at that. Thank you very much for the link. I will take a look. Now, I have shown you this little system that I've done. I don't feel like there's much else to really talk about. There's a few people still left in the chat. Does anyone have any questions? Otherwise, I shan't take up much more of your afternoon. We can fire up Pretzel again. What should we have? Should we have let's have some more chill music. A little bit of music as we end the stream. Thank you, Pretzel Rocks, for dropping in the artist there. Lovely, lovely. So I hope you've enjoyed what has been an interesting hour and a half or so. I've discovered it's quite hard to talk about these tutorials off the cuff, but hey, we got there. I hope it was at least vaguely useful. I hope you're looking forward to what we have planned for this channel, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys in streams in the future. Join us on Thursday. I will announce the game on Wednesday. And I think we're looking at between 1:30 and 2 o'clock UK time for the stream. I need to confirm that, but keep an eye on our social media. It will all be up there. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And annoyingly, Slobs has disconnected from my phone again, so you guys get to look at Streamlabs once more as we say goodbye, and thank you so much for watching. See you all next time.